Hi all of you, this is Gil. So this video is about a blog, my own blog about stress. I mean, how much stress can we take? Or how much stress can I take? Some people may ask that question about themselves or everybody, but this is my opinion about this. And I'm going to use my job as a classic example. So yes, I mean, the stress, when it comes to stress, back in 2020, my job got so busy. 2021 got really busy during the pandemic and stuff, and I was like working 12 hours a day on average, like 12 hours for 6 days a week sometimes. And from what I would observe in my job, like very few people were able to withstand that. I mean, I tell you, I've seen people leaving jobs on the first day left and right. But I can go with everywhere else, like how much stress can people take, well, apparently, like some people just don't have tolerance to any kind of stress, the ones that have no tolerance, they're gonna explode right away. And then I do know that. But stress can come in a lot of ways, and it can come from many different sources, it could be family problems, or it could be like anywhere. It can come from anywhere. Kids, well, apparently some kids may not have much tolerance to any sort of stress. Any sort of like stress like with friends and stuff. Homework, or the parents or whatever. So, and then of course, like for some people, like who may commit suicide, of course we get some people out there in the world. Usually it's young people, but it can be anybody. I would think, in my opinion, that suicide happens because they cannot handle the stress of the depression that they're having and that kind of stuff. But like I say, I know a factor that like some people have no tolerance to any kind of stress. But of course, there's going to be others that have extreme tolerance to it. Some people can have a lot of tolerance to it. But for some of us, sometimes we have to. Sometimes we need to have tolerance to stress, any kind of stress, anything that causes stress, And for those people, like the ones that have no tolerance at all, they'll explode. They'll tend to explode real easily, and sometimes it gets out of hand on themselves, and it can cause harm. Like for some people, like for an example, like someone who can't take the stress in a job, they're gonna leave on the first day, with the consequence of not being able to find any new jobs or whatever. Or some people may not have so little tolerance to stress that they're going to resort to getting a gun and shooting down people. Some people probably might do things like that to relieve of their stress, or to get rid of the stress. But that's a really wrong way to do it. That's the wrong way to do things. Like you gotta be able to subdue that stress, like to contain it within yourself. That's the best way to do it. You don't want to explode with everybody around you, Well, I can use myself as an example on ways that I could subdue my stress, any stress that I have. Well, I'll use my job as an example. Like back in my days, I've gone through hundreds of days working 12-hour shifts, like non-stop. I've gone through hundreds of days in the last few years, and like how did I go through it without exploding, or even finding myself pulling my hairs and stuff? So yeah, well, how did I cope with it, or how did I dealt with the stress? Like one of those ways, one of the things that I would do, like to subdue it, is like if I'm having a really stressful moment, what I would do, I would just stop working, or I would just stop, stop to a crawl in my job. Like back in my time when I was stacking boxes in those days, like I'm really good with like doing my job, because I just believe in doing my job and stuff. But then when it gets overwhelming and the stress is too much for me, I'm just gonna stop or just crawl or just slow down to a crawl in my job, and then I'm just gonna take my time stacking boxes or whatever that I'm doing. I'm just gonna take my sweet time until I cool off a bit. So that's what I did that every time, you know. Even my job would actually tell us that we can do that. I mean, we're actually allowed to do that if we're overwhelmed with our job. And it doesn't have to be mental stress. It could be physical stress too. I mean, like if we're being overwhelmed physically, then we need to stop to a crawl or slow down to a crawl until we could cool off a bit, and then we can resume when we feel like we feel fine afterwards. Yeah, that's one of those. It's one of those things that you have to do. But although I mean, I have extreme tolerance to stress. I mean, I can handle stress for the most part when I feel like I have to. Sometimes we have to, you know. Like in the case of my job, you know, I've been through hundreds of 12-hour days, 6-day weeks, you know, like I've been through hundreds of days like that. And apparently I'm still in my job, you know. I think it's another example in my job is like, I think I would probably think that maybe only 10% of people that were in my job from a couple years ago, they're not. I mean, it's only 10% that remain, because everybody else is someone new. I mean, someone different. I mean, I'm one of the 10%. I mean, of people who actually survived that job. You know how busy it got in the last couple of years, but lately it's been slowing down. So I mean, so now there's not much of a chance of stressing out anymore in my job. So apparently I survived through that job with the busiest moments of the years, you know, the busiest moments. So I come to the conclusion about three things that we could do to subdue the stress, any kind of stress in life. Either number one, either get rid of what stresses you up, either get rid of it or keep away from the source when you can. If you can get rid of the source of the stress, or you just kind of like keep your distance from your stress point, or where the source of the stress is at. Or third thing you can do is you just have to work with it. I mean, those are the three things that either of those three things that you can do. If you can get rid of it, great. I mean, well, I wouldn't say get rid of your job, but I mean, if you have a car that's stressing you out because it's breaking down all the time or whatever, you just get rid of that car, and then that way you don't stress anymore. Or you just get rid of anything that bothers you all the time. Get rid of it if you're able to. But if you can't get rid of it, like then if you can stay away from it, then well, in this case, like if you have a friend, or if you have a classmate, or if you have a coworker or whatever, or if you have somebody that you have to interact with regularly here and there, you just kind of like try to keep your distance as much as possible. Or if it's just like something in your house or just something that bothers you, you just try to keep away from it if you can, when you can, you know, like for an example, like the news, for an example, you just keep away from watching that if you feel like you have to. I mean, the news on the TV, or just get off the internet, keep away from it if you can, you know. But if you can't do either of those two things, then the last resort that you have is you just gotta work with it. I mean, you just gotta work with it. Let's say that you have a person that you don't like how they are acting, or you don't like what the things that he's doing to you or whatever. That's when you kind of face it. You just have to face the problem, you know. just gotta face the person and talk to that person and say, hey, person, I don't like what you're doing to me, so I would kind of kindly ask you to kind of stop. That's an example of working with it. When you can't get rid of, if you can't get rid of that person, for that example, if you can't get rid of it because he's your coworker or something, or if you can't keep away from him because he's part of your team or something. That's an example, just a quick example. Or it could be a car. I mean, like, if you can't get rid of the car because you don't have the money to buy another car, or you don't have the credit to buy another car or something, then like you just like try not to use it and instead try to use a bus or something, or try to get a ride from somebody or something. But if you can't do any of those two things, then you just have to resort to like knowing everything that you need to know about the car, so that way it doesn't stress you out. Like research that car or something, the repairs that commonly are needed, and be ready for it. That's how you work with the stress. So those are my examples, so I've concluded. I mean, of course, stress can come from any source, a lot of sources, like for me, I mean, stress can come from a lot of clutter. I mean, a lot of clutter that I have in the house, and I feel like I just don't want to get rid of it. But one of the best ways to relieve to stop my stress is to get rid of some of those stuff, some of those items, like that way I don't. But if I can't get rid of it, then I just can put it away, like keep away from it for now, keep it out of my view, put it in a box and just put it away somewhere and just wait until I'm ready for it again. Or I could just work with it and just go ahead and go balls out and fix that thing, or find out what will make it less stressful, That's just a quick example. So yeah, okay. Well, I hope you liked my thoughts about how to handle stress, or I hope you liked my thoughts about my blog, about it. This is just a random blog. I'm just doing this for fun. How much stress can we take? Well, I can tell you, like, some people don't have any tolerance to any stress of any kind, but while others have high tolerance, like, apparently I have high tolerance to stress, and my job is a classic example. I mean, because I managed to go through the several years of being there, like working nothing but 12-hour days, 6 days a week, before, I mean, when we used to work a ton of hours, like non-stop, like, and then how busy it used to be, those days, well, so yeah, okay, well, today is, May 2nd, 2023. Hope you liked this video of my blog. So, alright, I'll see you on the next video.